Ladies and gentlemen, members of the graduating classes, I hereby convene these commencement exercises in the 310th year of the College of William and Mary in Virginia, and we are here to celebrate the achievements of the students of the College of William and Mary. Welcome. In the year 1693, 310 years ago, this past February, the reigning monarchs of Great Britain acceded to the petition of the Reverend James Blair of Virginia, and by writ of the Privy Seal granted a royal charter authorizing the establishment, and I'm now quoting from the charter, of a certain place of universal study or perpetual college of divinity, philosophy, languages, and other good arts and sciences, to be located on the south side of the York River and to be supported and maintained in all time coming. And further we will, the charter continues, that when the said college shall be so erected, made, founded, and established, it shall be called and denominated forever the College of William and Mary in Virginia. That commitment has been kept for all generations through good times and bad, and it is reaffirmed here today as this college, by virtue of its powers contained in the Royal Charter, as well as those granted by the Commonwealth of Virginia, conducts these commencement exercises. I would like now to present the members of our governing board, the Board of Visitors of the college. Their leadership, dedication, their love for William and Mary are a constant source of vitality and strength to this institution. Would the members of the board please stand to receive our recognition? I would also ask you to join me in congratulating three special members of the college community, two of whom are seated on the front row with our graduates, and one is with us here on the platform. They have the distinction of having been selected by the senior class as honorary marshals for today's commencement. They are given a truly special honor. As I call your name, would you please stand? Donald J. Baxter, Associate Professor of Government. Jillian T. Sell, Provost. Clyde A. Hallman, Professor of Economics. Congratulations to all three of our honorary marshals. Now I have a quite wonderful surprise for you. Not long ago, I received a call from London. On the other end of the line was our former Chancellor, Margaret, the Lady Thatcher. She told me that she would be in the United States at the time of commencement. She said she remembered fondly her service as Chancellor and her association with the classes of 2003. She wondered whether we might like her to stop by and offer her congratulations
Thank you for that wonderful welcome. I think it excelled even those which I had here when I was Chancellor. President Sullivan, Your Majesty, Congressmen, graduates, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be back here at William and Mary. It's a source of immense pride for me to have been Chancellor of this great university and to have been awarded one of your honorary doctorates and have been made an honorary Virginian. So today, I feel as if I'd come home. I also thought that I should check that my successor as Chancellor is keeping up to the mark. Well, it's clear that Henry Kissinger is not doing too bad a job at all for a man. And when I see Henry later this week, I shall pass on my suggestions and warm congratulations. For all of you who are graduating or receiving advanced degrees, this day will always represent a very special moment in your lives. And in your wisdom, you chose to come to a very special place. Virginia was the crucible of America's constitutional liberty. On this hallowed soil, indeed here on this campus, so many of the great teachers of democracy arose. Whatever you go on to achieve, William and Mary will always be a part of your lives. And I know that all of you graduating today will bring as much pride to this college as have previous generations. Here at William and Mary, excellence and effort are valued and honored. But great schools and great universities do not in themselves make great nations. It's individuals who do that, as the founding fathers understood so well. It's by applying what you have learned, by striving to improve your own lives and the lives of your friends, neighbors, and fellow countrymen, that you will add to the richness and greatness of America. This college's superb faculty have steered you upwards towards the future. Your task is to make it a shining one. I'm especially delighted that today you are honoring Her Majesty Queen Noor. For many years, she has been a quiet source of strength and calm in a region more often associated with turbulence and violence. Your Majesty's late husband, King Hussein, was a man of compassion and understanding, of far-sightedness and courage, and he was a great friend of Britain. That's always right. I was privileged to meet him on many occasions. I always valued his insight and advice. Perhaps I may recount one incident which sums up the man. After the invasion of the Falkland Islands by Argentina, and as our task force was sailing into the perils of the South Atlantic, I sought to strengthen Britain's position with our friends and allies around the world. Among those I telephoned was King Hussein. But before I had even got beyond my greeting, the King interjected and said very simply, "What can I do for you, Prime Minister?" He needed no persuading. He was clear that right was on Britain's side. He was, I believe, the outstanding Arab statesman of his generation. My friends, in recent months, our thoughts have once again been focused on events in the Middle East. When I spoke to the students and faculty of this college over 3 years ago, as my last act of Chancellor, I then urged them to continue to foster and protect the values of our two nations' shared heritage, and not only for us, but also for the benefit of the wider world. I could not then have foreseen what lay ahead, or how quickly our joint resolve and friendship would be tested. Our nations have since shed their blood in a just war to uphold what is right, and I am proud that Britain stood by America in the conflict. First in Afghanistan and now in Iraq, the forces of tyranny and oppression have been routed. And while the world remains a dangerous place, it is less dangerous because of these victories. It will be safer still if we uphold our ideals, defend our interests, and support our allies wherever and whenever danger looms. My friends, as Winston Churchill reminded us half a century ago in his prophetic Iron Curtain speech, if all our moral and material forces and convictions are joined with your own in fraternal association, the high roads of the future will be clear, not only for us, but for all time, for a century to come. Let us strive, my friends, to make those words as true today as they were then. I wish you well, and thank you for letting me come today.
In light of the special visit by Lady Thatcher, we are going to depart slightly from our printed program. At this time, we will proceed with the conferring of honorary degrees, beginning with Congressman Lewis, and then, following receipt of her degree, Her Majesty Queen Noor will present commencement remarks. Mr. Rector, would you join me, please? Congressman Lewis, would you join me, please? John Robert Lewis, public servant, civic activist, and protector of human rights. You have helped change the character of our nation through your relentless and continuing commitment to the advocacy of civil rights. You've earned the respect of those who love justice, and you have made our nation more decent and more caring. Born in Alabama, you attended the American Baptist Theological Seminary in Nashville, and received your Bachelor of Arts degree in Religion and Philosophy from Fisk University. Even as a student, you were dedicated to interracial understanding. Inspired by the social gospel of Martin Luther King Jr. and by Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence, you founded the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, an organization that greatly influenced the activities of students in the struggle for human rights. Despite your youth, by 1963, you were recognized as one of the Big Six leaders of the civil rights movement, along with Martin Luther King Jr. During the Mississippi Freedom Summer, you worked to organize voter registration drives and community action programs. Your efforts in leading over 600 marchers across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, an event that became known as Bloody Sunday, and the subsequent march between Selma and Montgomery led to the approval of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Whether you were working to desegregate Nashville's lunch counters or participating in freedom rides, you were never afraid to risk your life in the cause of human rights. Called the Apostle of Nonviolence by Time magazine, you've remained dedicated to the notion of nonviolent protest despite more than 40 arrests, physical attacks, and serious injuries. You have received the Eleanor Roosevelt Award for Human Rights, the Martin Luther King Jr. Nonviolent Peace Prize, and the Robert F. Kennedy Book Award for your book, Walking with the Wind, a memoir of the movement. Elected to your first governmental office in 1981, you served as an Atlanta City Council member until your election to Congress in 1986. As a member of the United States House of Representatives, you serve on the Committee on Ways and Means and the Congressional Black Caucus, among others.
John Robert Lewis, in recognition of your outstanding service to your nation, to nonviolence, to the civil rights of all humankind, the College of William Mary is proud to honor you. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Visitors in the ancient royal charter of the College of William Mary in Virginia, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Public Service, honoris causa.
Congressman Lewis, I wonder if you would be kind enough to offer a few words here, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And to all of the members of the graduating class of 2003, congratulations. Her Majesty Queen Noor. And to all of the distinguished guests, members of this great college family, I'm deeply honored. I'm more than lucky, but very blessed to be receiving this great honor from a great university, from a great college. I feel more than lucky, but very blessed to be here. If someone had told me when I was sitting in, and by sitting in, we were standing up for the best in America. If someone had told me when we went on the Freedom Rides in 1961, a march on Washington in 1963, 40 years ago. If someone had told me when we were marching from Selma to Montgomery 38 years ago for the right to vote, that one day I would be standing here as a member of the House of Representatives, receiving an honorary degree from the College of William and Mary. Oh, I would have said, you're crazy, you're out of your mind, you don't know what you're talking about. So I said to you young people, you young leaders, leaders of the 21st century, as you lead this great institution, go out and do good. Not just for yourselves, but for all humankind. During the early days of the Civil Rights Movement, many of us accepted nonviolence not simply as a technique or as a tactic, but as a way of life, as a way of living. We wanted to build a beloved community here in America and around the world. You have a mission, a mandate, and a moral obligation to do what you can, not just to make America a little bit better, but make our world a better place, a world at peace with itself. I happen to believe, and the Civil Rights Movement taught me this, that violence is obsolete, that humankind must evolve to a much higher level, where we lay down the tools and instrument of war and violence and study war no more. It is left up to you You young people can do it. It is left up to you. To lead this world, to lead this little planet, this little piece of real estate that we call Earth, a little greener, a little cleaner, and a little more peaceful. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't get lost in the sea of despair. Don't hate. Love is a better way. We can build that beloved community and that beloved world. You can do it. We must do it. Thank you very much for this great honor.
Mr. Rector, would you please join me again? Your Majesty, would you please join me here? Queen Noor of Jordan, international negotiator, advocate for democracy and peace, you have well served the cause of humanity by your determination to improve the lives of all those around you. Your dedication to the promotion of international exchange and understanding has made better both your country and the world. After receiving your bachelor's degree in architecture and urban planning from Princeton University in 1974 with the first coeducational class, you participated in international urban planning and design projects in Australia, Iran, the United States, and Jordan before joining the Royal Jordanian Airline as Director of Planning and Design Projects. Since your marriage to King Hussein in 1978, you have played a major role in promoting international exchange and understanding of Middle Eastern politics, Arab-Western relations, and other current global issues. You are now involved in directing and sponsoring projects that respond to specific national needs in mother and child health care, education, women's development, environmental protection, culture, public architecture, and planning. You have launched the National Task Force for Children, Royal Endowment for Culture and Education, Arab Children's Congress, the Jurash Festival for Culture and Arts, Jubilee School, National Music Conservatory, and the National Handicrafts Development Project. These initiatives promote understanding, scholarship, and cultural and artistic interaction among Jordan's people. In 1985, the Noor al-Hussein Foundation was established to support your many development initiatives, including national, regional, and international projects in the fields of integrated community development, education, culture, and children's welfare. Your great vision and leadership led King Abdullah to entrust you with the King Hussein Foundation, a national and international organization dedicated to King Hussein's legacy of democracy and peace, as well as education, the environment, and health. You are an active patron of many national institutions in Jordan, including the National Committee for the Protection of the Environment, the Petronational Trust, the Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature, and the Royal Society of Fine Arts. Internationally, you are a member of the World Conservation Union, Honorary President of BirdLife International, President of United World Colleges, and Chair of the International Advisory Committee for the United Nations University International Leadership Committee. I might also mention that you have recently enjoyed considerable success as an author.
Queen Noor, in recognition of your efforts to advance cultural development, democracy, and peace, the College of William and Mary is proud to honor you. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Visitors and the ancient royal charter of the College of William and Mary in Virginia, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
Ladies and gentlemen, The 2003 commencement speaker, Her Majesty Queen Noor of Jordan.
President Sullivan, distinguished members of the William and Mary community, proud parents and friends, and of course, most important, graduates of the class of 2003. Congratulations. Congressman Lewis, it's only appropriate that I follow you once again in my life. Once an ardent member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in the 1960s, which began my lifelong commitment to social justice and peace, and now sharing with you the privilege of this great honor from the College of William and Mary. I salute you, and it is an enormous privilege to be with you here today. There can't be enough applause for all that you have contributed to our world. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you today and to share in this celebration, especially at this current moment. It is good for the soul to look out at all of your faces, full of excitement, hope, and of course, relief. And that is just the parents. Before I begin my remarks, let me wish all the mothers here a very happy Mother's Day. And there can't be enough applause for all of you and all that you have contributed to the stars of this event. Since I married into an existing family of 8 children, which I then added to, I have been mothering teenagers for 25 years. It may be a record. Like you, I have watched as they have tested themselves and me and emerged from the chrysalis of adolescence as full-fledged independent adults. It will be 3 or 4 years more before I sit as you do with a lump in my throat as the last of my offspring, my youngest daughter, spreads her wings as yours are today. Motherhood is one long process of letting go, but that simple truth can't capture the complex mingling of joy and pain it entails. But the term mother itself has lately fallen into misuse, I think. We hear reference to the mother of all battles and the mother of all bombs. Now, mothers are powerful, as we all know, but no mother I know is interested in destruction. As I stand here in Thomas Jefferson's alma mater, and I'm told you can't give a speech in this part of the world without mentioning Thomas Jefferson, but it's also George Washington and James Madison's alma mater, so let's give them all credit. And given William and Mary's position as second oldest institution of higher learning in this land, it might be called the mother of all American colleges. But I would like, nonetheless, to call for a cessation of hostilities towards this precious word. But what I would really like to address today is actually another word that has been much in the news lately: coalitions, particularly the building of coalitions between nations for international security and stability. In the last 2 decades, the global debate on security has in fact expanded beyond the traditional concept of national security to embrace a larger human security, one that has included a shift from protecting political territory to protecting individual human beings, for the survival and dignity of people, not just their states. This new definition of security was intrinsically bound up with development and the betterment of human lives. But since the tragedy of September 11th, unfortunately, some governments have re-emphasized a defensive rather than a comprehensive concept of security. And this is one of the themes in my recently published book, Leap of Faith, which tries to provide, among other themes, a more accurate and human picture of King Hussein's lifelong search for peace. He said, "Peace resides ultimately not in the hands of governments, but in the hands of people." And he said that real victories are those that protect human life, not those that result from its destruction or emerge from its ashes. I never anticipated that the publication of my book would coincide with these recent months of agony for the Middle East and the United States, and in fact, I think the entire world. But I do hope that sharing some of my own perspectives might help you appreciate the infinite ways, now and for years to come, that you can contribute to coalitions to create a more stable, secure, and equitable world. We live in a time when it is critically important to build such coalitions, but on very different terms, not an axis of self-interest between states for political ends, but true partnerships between people based on respect for our shared values, needs, and fundamental human rights, and also on respect for our differences. And these coalitions would not apply only to my region, important as it is right now, but from Afghanistan to the Balkans, the Middle East to East Timor, Northern Ireland to Rwanda, even here in the United States. Anywhere anyone is struggling to overcome conflict and inequity. Who needs to join forces in these coalitions? Not simply like-minded nations, but all the diverse people whose welfare is central to global security. First are those whose economic peril is a source of instability. I know that many of you about to enter the job market are concerned about the state of the economy here in the United States, but it might provide some perspective to hear figures about elsewhere in the world. In the last 20 years, per capita economic growth in the Middle East has been lower than anywhere except impoverished sub-Saharan Africa. 75% of residents are poor and getting poorer. Worse, political and social inequity have created huge gaps between rich and poor, and traditional notions of security have resulted in the highest per capita expenditure on arms of any region in the world. Money that, if it could be spent fighting poverty instead, would go a long way towards creating a more secure and stable world. But it is not only poverty of funds that causes friction, but poverty of dignity. Coalitions for peace must embrace those who feel their individuality and cultures are under threat. The Arab world, for example, has a long and illustrious history of which its people are justly proud. Civilization itself was born between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers several millennia ago. And many of the greatest human inventions, agriculture, cities, law, literature, writing, were developed there. Centuries ago, Islam spread enlightenment, justice, and equity, intellectual creativity, and the concept of a humane society, and through education and the preservation of knowledge, helped bring about the end of a dark period in European history. Islamic society protected the rights of individuals, women as equally as men, valued pluralism, and discouraged prejudice. But despite this proud heritage, how do Arab people see themselves reflected in Western eyes? The images, for example, that the US media and Hollywood have created certainly don't promote mutual respect. A very diverse population has been pigeonholed into a few stereotypes, oil-rich sheikhs in a region where many live in poverty, bloodthirsty aggressors instead of the refugees whose homes and lands have been taken from them, ignorant fanatics, in fact a tiny minority in a land of many cultured, educated professionals, cloistered, oppressed women instead of the doctors, lawyers, government ministers, and businesswomen I know and work with, and now the poor and downtrodden who need to be rescued from their own culture rather than the proud and patriotic people entitled to freedom and self-determination. We must overcome such misconceptions and stereotypes if we are to build on the common ground of our universal human values and aspirations to resolve the challenges we face. Our coalitions must also include a group of people whose capabilities and aspirations often seem to be the last on the list, women. For the best and worst reasons, women have extensive experience with conflict resolution and recovery. Women are most often the most vulnerable victims during conflict, and the ones left to pick up the shattered pieces of their societies as well as their own lives when it is over. Women bear the brunt of violence, but they are often left out when peacemaking begins. This is not only unjust, but it's unwise. Women bring key strengths and talents to the quest for reconciliation and stability. In working for what is best for their families, they can cut across ethnic, religious, and tribal lines using a collaborative approach. Often these women bring a fresh pragmatism to their response to conflict. They know that in the day-to-day effort to keep their households and their communities functioning, ideology is a luxury they cannot afford. They don't agree on everything, but they try to bridge their differences to share the resources and information needed to restructure their societies. I've spent a great deal of time in the Balkans, for example, since the mid-1990s, where thousands of women whose fathers, husbands, and sons were exterminated have successfully taken the leadership in reconciliation and the rebuilding of their families and communities. Afghan women refugees I work with tell of maintaining essential community services such as secret schools and health care for girls and women under the repressive Taliban regime. Women leaders from Israeli and Palestinian territories have formed such coalitions as the Jerusalem Link to forge a common language for peace in the Middle East. Similar examples abound from Azerbaijan to the Andes. In the same way, women can be a unique economic and cultural force. Microfinance programs we initiated in Jordan have transformed the roles of women socially, economically, and even politically. The beautiful Bedouin rugs a tribal weaving cooperative creates and then sells over the internet are generating income and opportunity, as well as sharing their unique heritage with the rest of the world, in spite of the collapse of their traditional tourist market due to years of Middle East conflict. Here, we catch a glimpse of the full potential of globalization. Out of such alliances forged of necessity, we are beginning to see promising examples of a new kind of leadership. Women empowered by their unique experiences and perspectives and science and technology are bringing about genuine change. Coalitions using the World Wide Web to create a global virtual community are linking grassroots organizations to the political process and beginning to make women's voices heard in the corridors of power. Another group that must be taken more seriously in building coalitions for peace and security is youth. In our region, for example, more than half the population of Jordan, Iraq, and other Arab nations is under the age of 18. The world over, if young people are ignored and feel disenfranchised politically and economically, they will become radicalized. But if they are included in the social, economic, and political partnerships, their potential is enormous. They can also bring valuable perspectives to peace building, having the courage and the idealism to reach out to one another across traditional barriers. I've been inspired by this spirit in meetings with students from all over the world in the United World Colleges. It lives even more poignantly in the Seeds of Peace, a program founded after the first World Trade Center bombing in 1993 to bring together children from conflict-torn regions to begin to break down the barriers of ignorance and prejudice. For a time, they lived together and worked to build mutual understanding and respect, learning to value communication over confrontation. When they return home, they continue to hold out their hands and hearts to each other. Even now, especially now, Arab and Israeli seeds phone or email across conflict lines to comfort their friends in the midst of violence. They still try to speak of peace or even just say, "Hold on," over the sound of gunfire on the other end of the line. They risk the scorn of angry neighbors for a chance to meet and talk, and tragically at times to grieve together. Sometimes they risk their lives. But by those risks, they also inspire their families and neighbors to take a chance on hope and humanity. So how to begin to set up coalitions among all these disparate groups? One key is what has brought us all together here today: education. It can be the single most effective tool in our arsenal for peace. It can provide techniques for resolving differences without conflict, broader perspectives for looking at the world from others' points of view, and the resources, skills, and new thinking that are the currency of the global information economy. Graduates, I know that you understand this link between education, service, and human welfare. 75% of you have been involved in community service during your time here, adding up to hundreds of thousands of hours helping others. And I'm delighted to hear that your school sends proportionately more graduates onto the Peace Corps than any other college. Because strange as it may seem from where I stand now, if my life hadn't taken the startling turn that it did 25 years ago, I would have been a Peace Corps volunteer. I congratulate you, and I hope you know how extraordinary your achievement is. Given the intense commercialization of Western culture and the current anxiety about job prospects, it is easy to assume that college graduates are interested solely in personal gain and career advancement. But we know better. Now, as you go out into the world, as alumni, as workers, as volunteers, and as concerned citizens, you too can be part of the real coalition for peace. You, among the best educated and best connected young minds in the world, will become the next leaders in education, in business, in government, in technology. You can use what you have learned here to foster connections and to establish a new kind of security built on mutual benefits, not better bombs. You can add your voice to the many other voices around the world calling for peace, justice, and tolerance. Thanks to the power of technology in the service of democratic principles, never before in human history have ordinary people had so much opportunity to do good. Globalization is connection, for good and for ill. The crucial factor is what we choose to connect. If only money, markets, commodities, then we can expect more of what we have right now. Economic and environmental degradation, political and cultural dissatisfaction, injustice, and conflict. But if we use the almost limitless power of global networks to connect people, to cross boundaries, the possibilities are just as limitless. Yes, now more than ever is the time for true coalitions, for webs or networks of people reaching out to each other. If we break down the walls of misperception and mistrust, we will achieve our radically new definition of security. Not a fortress for a few, but a safety net for all. I have long thought of myself as a builder of bridges between cultures, perhaps because of my architecture and urban planning background. But when I look back on the connections I've been trying to make all my life, I find that that may not be the best metaphor after all. A bridge usually connects only two things, with a gulf between them. As travel and technology erase the physical distances between us, we need to connect so much more. We need to weave a tapestry of our individual human experiences. Each with its own strengths contributes to the strength and the beauty of the whole. Thank you very much.
Chris Hanel is graduating today with a concentration in history and a minor in sociology. Looking over his record, I would say that he's also majored in extracurricular activities. He has been an RA and a head resident and admissions tour guide, a 4-year member of the recreation sports staff, a performer and board member of the Covenant Players, a 3-year member of one of our a cappella singing groups, One Accord, an active member of the Catholic Campus Ministry, and secretary of the senior class. Chris has been an energetic and enthusiastic presence, and it is my pleasure to present him to you as the student speaker at the college's 2003 commencement. Chris?
President Sullivan, distinguished guests, faculty, parents, Lady Thatcher, Your Majesty, Queen Noor, Congressman Lewis, and fellow members of the class of 2003, welcome, and I am honored by your company this afternoon. While reflecting on my time here at William and Mary, I was overwhelmed by seemingly endless memories and immeasurable emotion, and I knew that it would be impossible to articulate the impact that the college has had on my life in this short moment. So, I did what any great orator would do. I thought up a cheesy pop cultural analogy. My favorite TV series from when I was growing up was The Wonder Years. And if you aren't familiar with The Wonder Years, it's the story of Kevin Arnold, a suburbanite kid who journeys through childhood and adolescence during the 1960s and 70s. I know. I originally laughed at the idea too, and I said, what do I possibly have in common with Kevin Arnold? I mean, all that kid ever did on that show was struggle to keep his grades afloat and strike out with girls. And then it clicked. But I believe that Kevin's life mirrors ours in a very special way, because as the show's theme song, sung by Joe Cocker, suggests, he could have never made it without a little help from his friends. There was Paul, the geeky best friend who spent half his time on the show fighting chronic allergies, and the other half resenting Kevin for pulling him into the worst trouble of his life. Kevin and Paul taught each other about trust and commitment during a time in their lives when everything, from their voices to their country's foreign policy, was changing before their eyes. Little Winnie Cooper, of course, was the apple of my eye, Kevin's eye, sorry. But there was more to Kevin and Winnie's relationship than googly eyes and hand-holding. They were a glowing example of support between friends. When she fell down, he helped her up. And when he felt lost, she reminded him of where he belonged. Try to recall all of the times here at William and Mary, where you have had a little help from your friends. The time your friends offered to buy you pizza at the lodge when you ran out of credits. That's right, credits. The time your freshman hall dragged you out to the Crimdale in the middle of Hurricane Floyd to prove once and for all that there was more to college than just studying, theoretically. The friends who celebrated you with you when you got your first and only A at William and Mary, and who laughed at you when you woke up and realized it was all just a dream. The time you thought no one in the world understood how difficult life seemed, and the professor who granted you the extension anyway. The community that held each other closely in the wake of the September 11th tragedies, and the loss of David Brown on the Space Shuttle Columbia this year. The community that even today remembers a very special friend of ours in Alex Reno, a fellow member of the class of 2003 whose love for his friends and his college serves as an inspiration to us all. We miss you, Alex, and through the legacy you've left in our hearts, you graduate with us today. Friends, recall all of these moments, the good and the bad, and ask yourself, where would I be right now without the help of my friends? Sure, William and Mary would not have been the same for us without the essentials. A 310-year legacy of academic greatness, outstanding faculty, whole nights of studying in half of a library, mug night at the Leaf, twilight walks down Dog Street, and of course, Wawa. But I believe that our friends have been the driving force of our success at the college. Because, like Paul and Winnie, they inspired and supported us, commemorated and commiserated with us, because they cared. And they will continue to care. In the coming years, the winds of change will gently tug on the old weather vane atop Wren. But some things just don't change. And that close community that is so often preached about in orientation packets and on admissions tours, that will not have changed. And each time we return to our beloved college, we'll remember what holds us together. We'll remember our friends. The truth is, I'm not losing any sleep over leaving you here at this stage today, because I know that I will see you again. I'll watch your political commentary on television and read about your groundbreaking research to fight terminal disease or alleviate hunger in our world. I'll probably fund your interest group, vote for you in your election, chat over my kids' report cards with you at parent-teacher conferences. We are not going to be unemployed forever. And when we do get jobs, we will find ourselves changing this world on the same team. As young, talented, visionary men and women, as William and Mary grads, as friends. And we can rest knowing that we belong to something bigger than our own achievements. We belong to a community. Now, as some of you may recall, Kevin and Winnie parted ways at the end of the show, but they promised to always, in some way, be together. And I'll quote Kevin. "The next day we came home, back to where we started. Somehow, though, things were different. Our past was here, but our future was somewhere else. And we both knew that sooner or later, we had to go." Friends, we too are in a place in our lives where we aren't exactly sure where we belong. Some of us are going on to start illustrious careers. Some will go on to break new ground in graduate or professional school. I'm going home to take a nap. But one thing is for sure. We're not there yet. And in a few minutes, we won't really be here either. Sure, we won't have exams or class or papers. Who are we kidding? We're not even going to have health insurance. So what will we have? What we've had all along. Friends. Thank you and congratulations.
Before we present the traditional prizes and awards, I want to exercise a moment of personal privilege. 2 weeks ago, Alex Reno, a member of the class of 2003, lost his life in a tragic accident in the Crimdale Pond. On this day of his graduation, and please know his diploma will be presented this afternoon at the Department of Government ceremony, I've decided to issue a special citation, and I would like to ask members of Alex Reno's family, his sister, Christine McArdle, her husband, Stacy, and their son, Elijah, who are here today, to please come forward to receive it. Please be seated. I would like to read you the citation. Alex Reno, member of the class of 2003, understood the value of relationships and found great joy in them. He gave freely and fully of himself in everything he did, and he had a concern for the welfare of others that has been a model for his peers. Examples abound. As an orientation aide and assistant director of orientation, Alex had a substantial impact on 3 classes of entering freshmen. Never one to confine his mentoring of new students just to orientation, Alex followed their adjustment throughout their first year and frequently built lasting friendships with them. He was an intern in the Office of Admissions and a tour guide, and he reveled in telling prospective students and their families about his love for William and Mary. It was not uncommon for Alex to have younger students stop him on the campus to let him know that his tour was the reason they decided to come to William and Mary. As a brother in Pi Lambda Phi fraternity, and as the smallest member of the rugby club, his passion and offbeat humor were an inspiration. Alex also made time to volunteer as a coach with the track team at Bruton High School, teaching young vaulters who were just learning the sport and leading them to a championship. One friend said of him, Alex had more integrity and strength than anyone I know. He knew what he stood for, and he never let anyone influence him in a way that would compromise his beliefs. This presidential citation is presented on behalf of a grateful college in tribute to a man with an uncommon love and concern for others, a passion for life in all of its possibilities, and exuberance rarely equaled. His death is a great loss to the class of 2003, but his example will be a vital part of its enduring legacy. At this time, I am happy to present you the winners of special prizes and awards. The Lord Botetourt Medal was established in 1772 by Norman Barclay, Baron de Botetourt, Governor of Virginia. The award is for the honor and encouragement of literary merit. In contemporary times, it has been given to the graduating senior who has attained the greatest distinction in scholarship. The award today is being presented to Hanley S Chang. Will Hanley please come forward? Stand up close, man. Hanley Chang graduates today with a double major in mathematics and economics, and he is the only member of the class of 2003 to achieve a perfect 4.0 grade point average. He has earned the highest honors in mathematics as a member of Phi Beta Kappa, was the 2002 recipient of the Thomas Jefferson Prize in Natural Philosophy, and is a recipient of the prestigious Truman Fellowship. Further, this remarkable young scholar has already published 2 articles in refereed mathematical journals, has submitted a 3rd for publication, and another is in preparation. An amazing accomplishment for an undergraduate. His faculty members consistently describe him as one of the best or the best student they've ever taught. One writes, he has an extraordinary level of intellectual curiosity and analytical ability, a first-rate scholar who continually strives to seek new questions and answers to those questions. Hanley Chang's academic achievements, as remarkable as they are matched by equally impressive skills as a leader and by a deep concern for others. He has chaired the college's Judicial Council, served as one of 4 student directors of our volunteer service program, founded and served as chair of the Hunger Task Force, and conducted fundraisers to aid in hunger relief locally. He volunteered for 4 years at Avalon, Williamsburg Shelter for the Victims of Domestic Violence, and spent a summer teaching English to middle school children in Palestine's West Bank. He has been a president's aide and president of Omicron Delta Kappa, the National Honorary Leadership Organization, which has also selected him as the Regional Leader of the Year, one of 9 nationwide. Hanley is an exceptional student and a genuinely caring person, and it's a great privilege for me to present him the Botetourt Medal. The James Frederick Carr Memorial Cup is awarded to the graduating senior student who best combines the qualities of character, scholarship, and leadership. We aim to select a well-rounded student who best embodies the spirit of sacrifice and selflessness which characterized James Frederick Carr. Mr. Carr entered William & Mary in 1914, served with distinction in the First World War, and lost his life before he could return to the college. This year, the James Frederick Carr Memorial Cup is awarded to Daniel Perry Mallon. Will Danny please come forward? Danny Mallon, like Hanley Chang, also ranks today at the very top of his class. A member of Phi Beta Kappa, Danny has completed a concentration in biology, has studied in Florence and held an internship at the Wells Center for Pediatric Research. A member of both Omicron Delta Kappa and Mortar Board, Danny has played a substantial role in the life of the college. He's been an officer in Up Till Dawn, has chaired Sigma Chi Fraternity's philanthropy and service activities, served as a volunteer at the Williamsburg Community Hospital, and coached in the Williamsburg Youth Soccer League. He has worked in UCAB, been an associate editor for poetry of one of the college's literary magazines, has played club and intramural soccer, and even tried his hand at varsity football for a semester. A president's aide, he was named last year's Greek Man of the Year. There really isn't much he hasn't done in his 4 years. He has been a positive influence and a leader whose example inspires others. Danny, you richly deserve the Carr Cup, and it is an honor for me to present it to you. To perpetuate the memory of the life of Algernon Sidney Sullivan, the New York Southern Society has arranged to make awards to not more than one man and one woman in our graduating class, and to one other person who has a close relationship with the college. In the selection of recipients, nothing is considered except the possession of characteristics of heart, mind, and conduct as evince a spirit of love for and helpfulness to others. This year, the awards to students are made to Fiona Caroline Horgan and to Brent Douglas Turner. Would Fiona and Brent please come forward? We got to get Fiona. Here she comes. Just waiting a second for Fiona. She's apparently was in the back there. While it is not germane to this award, both Fiona and Brent are students who have played significant leadership roles on campus. Fiona has been most visible this year as the head of the Alan Buxton Memorial Bone Marrow Drive, an activity in which she's been involved for 4 years. A Monroe Scholar, she received a Howard Hughes Medical Institute research grant, participated as a member of a medical outreach team in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and has been a research fellow at the University of Colorado Cancer Center. Twice she has chaired Family Weekend, and she has been a member of the Honor Council and the Judicial Appeals Committee. Fiona is a member of both Omicron Delta Kappa and Mortar Board. But these aren't the things that have earned her the Sullivan Award, as important as they have been. The award recognizes the qualities described by her nominator, who wrote, "She truly believes in giving to others and takes the initiative to make others feel appreciated. She always places the needs of others above her own. I have met few people in my life who are as compassionate, who make as much of every opportunity, or who give more honestly from the bottom of their heart, whether it is spending time with her friends, working with women in a continent far away, or dedicating endless hours to the Bone Marrow Drive." Brent was one of those students who made his mark on William and Mary almost from day one, in musical performances as a member of the choir and of the a cappella group, the Gentlemen of the College. Like Fiona, Brent has also been a committed leader of the Alan Buxton Bone Marrow Drive, and he too worked on Family Weekend, stepping in for Fiona when she became ill and could not be present for the event. Brent was a founding brother and has been a leader in Beta Theta Pi fraternity. He has served as one of the assistant directors of orientation, and last fall, when it appeared the college's homecoming parade would be canceled, Brent and another student organized an effort to save it, which they did. His nominator for this award wrote of him, "He is every bit as cheerful, selfless, and practical as he appears. He is a relentlessly patient, even-tempered, and he likes to make things work, and he's genuinely kind. People like working with him because he brings out the best in them and does not put himself forward." Both Fiona and Brent have lived their lives at William and Mary in a way that truly demonstrates their love for others and for their college, and it is a special privilege for me to present to them this year's Sullivan Awards. Do you have any idea how much fun it is standing up here doing this? It's just wonderful. Third award, the third Sullivan Award I mentioned a moment ago, given to an individual who has a close working relationship with the college and who possesses, as do Fiona and Brent, those characteristics of heart, mind, and conduct as evince a spirit of love for and helpfulness to others. I am delighted to announce that this year's recipient is a husband and wife team, Randy and Shelby Hawthorne. Randy and Shelby, would you please join me on the podium? Randy and Shelby Hawthorne are a quiet, unassuming pair who love William & Mary and who love its students. Both Randy and Shelby are William & Mary graduates, he with 3 degrees from the college and she with 2. Since their days as students, both have served William & Mary in many ways. Nowhere has their presence been more evident than with the track program. A runner himself, Randy has been president of the Spiked Shoe Society for 27 years. In July of 1976, he issued the first edition of Track Talk, a newsletter that is distributed every month to over 500 track alumni, contributors, and friends. For that entire time, Randy has written most of the newsletter, formatted it, copied it, assembled it, and mailed it. In the past 15 years, he has single-handedly raised over $3 million for the track program endowment and another $500,000 for its annual operations. His efforts have produced 70% of the funds available for William & Mary track scholarships. Randy and Shelby have also established 2 named scholarships themselves. Together, the Hawthorns have been volunteers at countless track meets, and they have made their house a home away from home for track athletes and alumni alike. In fact, they've actually housed about 40 student athletes over the last 20 years and regularly host dinners and gatherings for scores of others. Writing of them, their nominator said, "I can't think of anyone who gives as much to the College of William & Mary as Randy and Shelby Hawthorne. It is hard to believe they haven't already received the award given all they do." We thought it was hard to believe, too, and so today we are proud to present them the 2003 Sullivan Award for all they have done and continue to do for their alma mater and most especially for its students. Our final student award today was created in honor of the 21st Chancellor of College, Margaret, the Lady Thatcher. The award is presented annually to recognize an outstanding student from among those completing advanced degrees in the graduate or professional school studies. The winner is selected on the basis of scholarship and of leadership, service, and character. I'm delighted to announce that this year's recipient of the Thatcher Prize for Excellence in Graduate and Professional Study is Elizabeth K. Hinchy. Will Beth please come forward? Currently a postdoctoral fellow at the Environmental Protection Agency, Beth Hinchy completed her requirements for her PhD in marine science in January. She is already an accomplished scholar. Beth has to her credit 9 articles, either already published or in submission, and she has made 12 presentations at scientific meetings and professional conferences. One of her nominators writes, "Beth's research has been cutting edge. She has been the head scientist on countless research cruises, and her reputation for sparkling fieldwork earned her a coveted position on an international benthic sampling cruise an opportunity rarely seen by graduate students. But perhaps the more remarkable indicator of the respect she has already earned as a young scientist is that while still a student, for 2 years she was program chair of the Atlantic Estuarine Research Society, something almost no one can recall a student ever having done before. Committed to service, Beth has served on numerous committees, was a member of the VIMS Graduate Association, and a president's aide. She was a mentor to our undergraduates and to high school students in the New Horizons Governor's School, and she volunteered weekly in the Gloucester Elementary School. Beth Hinchy exemplifies the type of graduate student others seek to emulate. We are very proud of her accomplishments. Beth, you are a most fitting recipient of the Thatcher Prize for Excellence in Graduate and Professional Study. Congratulations. In honor of Thomas A. Graves, Jr., who retired in 1985 after almost 14 years as president of the college, the Thomas Ashley Graves, Jr. Award has been established to recognize sustained excellence in teaching. The recipient of the award is chosen by the president of the college from nominations submitted by each of the academic deans. It is a great pleasure for me to announce that the 2003 recipient of the Thomas Ashley Graves, Jr. Award is John H. Drew, Professor of Mathematics. Will Professor Drew please come forward? Professor Drew joined the mathematics department in 1970. Throughout his career, undergraduate students have consistently rated him as one of the department's most effective teachers. Professor Drew has become a recognized expert in teaching the freshman and sophomore calculus classes. He also teaches a wide range of upper division courses for mathematics majors. The high quality of those courses is frequently mentioned by graduating seniors in their annual evaluations of the department's teaching. In addition to outstanding work in the classroom, Professor Drew has become known as an effective advisor for freshmen and for mathematics majors. During the last 10 years, he has built a bridge between his own research in matrix theory and his undergraduate teaching through his work in the department's undergraduate research program. And he has co-authored numerous professional publications with his undergraduate research students. Finally, Professor Drew has worked to enhance teaching by other mathematics faculty. He has served as a teaching coach for some and has agreed to have others visit his own classes for extended periods. The college is honored to award the Thomas A. Graves, Jr. Award for Sustained Excellence in Teaching to Professor John H. Drew. We will now proceed with the conferring of earned degrees. Commencing, you knew it was coming. Commencing with the doctoral degrees and concluding with the conferral of 3 baccalaureate degrees. As we proceed with the conferral of degrees, I wish I could offer my personal congratulations to each of you. We are enormously proud of you. There's one special group of students I would like to recognize, and they are the students whose achievements have earned them the distinction of membership in the school's academic honoraries. Would the members of Phi Beta Kappa, Beta Gamma Sigma, Golden Key, Kappa Delta Pi, and the Order of Coif please stand?
Will all the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science please rise? Mr. President, you haven't got your degree yet. Mr. President, I have the honor to present on behalf of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Visitors of the College of William and Mary in Virginia, I hereby confer upon each of you the degree of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, and I welcome you into the community of educated women and men. Congratulations. To all of you who are graduating today, let me say that all of us in this hall today share the feelings of accomplishment and success that I know each of you is experiencing at this moment. We are proud of you. Today marks the achievement of a dream. Your dream, yes, but one shared by your parents, family, and friends, as well as by all of us who are the faculty and staff of this college. As you well know, your families offered the encouragement, made the sacrifices, and helped point the way towards this day. They share the joy of this happy occasion with you, and it was a privilege for my wife Ann and me to have an opportunity to meet so many of them yesterday. On this Mother's Day, I would like to ask the families of today's graduates to rise now and accept our thanks. The other group which has had a major hand in your success is the faculty. Their love of teaching, their concern for you, their high standards, their great ability have challenged you and helped you to grow. They've had a great influence on what you have been in the time you were here, and I would ask the members of the faculty to stand so that we may say thank you. Thank you. There is a third group that takes pleasure in your commencement today, and that's the alumni body of the college, a group to which you now belong. Representing our alumni is President of the Class of 1953, Mr. Carmen J. Romeo. His class just celebrated its 50th reunion. Will Mr. Romeo please stand? Finally, I want to acknowledge the generosity of the class of 2003, which recently announced a wonderful gift to the college of over $75,000. Almost two-thirds of the graduating seniors contributed to this gift, and it was made and dedicated in memory of their classmate, Alex Reno. It is a wonderful statement of your loyalty and your generosity, and on behalf of this college, I want to thank all of you for contributing to a gift that will establish forever a tradition of giving on your part. I have confidence in that. Commencement custom accords the president the privilege of a few concluding words. It is a privilege that I cherish, but which I try hard not to abuse. I will not keep you long, I promise. Let me read you a poem. It's very short. Its title, Nothing Gold Can Stay. Robert Frost wrote it. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest yew to hold, her early leafs a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay. Now, some of you I know must be thinking I chose that poem solely because 2 of the 5 words in the first line are green and gold. You'd be justified in that thought, but in this case, you would be wrong. I chose it partly because of its beauty, but mostly because of its message. The lesson it teaches is hard, but true. The poem's concision makes its eloquence stunning. Its effect, once the meaning sinks in, can be more than a little bit shocking. I know that, and because I do, there is some risk in using it as the text for these commencement remarks. But I take that risk without hesitation. There's a cycle in life beyond man's power to alter. There is an implacable rhythm in the natural world. It begins with birth, continues through maturity, and ends with death. That cycle, those rhythms shape the story of our days. They define the pattern of our lives. They place limits against all our wishing on what it can mean to be human and what, as human beings, we can aspire to achieve. Mine is not a message of darkness or of doubt, but it is an argument addressed specifically to those of you who want a great life. An argument that if you are serious about your ambition, you must summon first the courage to see without illusion how unyielding are life's limits. And once you see, to calibrate your ambitions and to define your dreams accordingly. No one here is immortal. If we didn't know that before this year taught us beyond forgetting. The toughest test of human greatness is measured by with what grace we bear the burden of our grief, how well we stand up to tragedy, how strong is our resolution to push on when disappointment seems to dog our every step. I tell you these things because what happens to you matters to me and matters deeply. I tell you these things because I know how many are your gifts, how beautiful are your ambitions, how powerful are your aspirations to do good. In the poem's vocabulary, you are living still in that golden moment. Treasure it, exult in it, fight to make it last, but know that in the end, you will lose that fight. Gold will become green, green will assume a darker hue, and that darker hue will deepen and ramify into colors even more somber and more subtle. Strong women and men do not shrink from these realities. They do not fear the shiver of timidity. Despite occasional failure, despite confounding adversity, despite the false counsel of those dark demons that have the power to blacken every heart, they fight fiercely to win and to reach the destination of their dreams. Such scars earned in such fights are worn proudly as marks of honor. As you prepare to leave this place that you have loved and which loves you and always will, there are a few quite simple thoughts I want to share. They have helped me in my life's fight. I have faith they will help you too. Try always to be your best self. You know what I mean, because better than anyone, you know who you are. That sacred place of your special gifts, that sunlit spot where are gathered your most powerful virtues, that is the place which holds the secrets most likely to bring you happiness and to make you great. And happiness I define, as did the ancient Greeks, the exercise of vital powers along lines of excellence in a life affording them scope. We tend to believe that our life's choices are more complicated than they really are. Quite often, this contrived complexity is the product of human vanity, an escape route from the commands of conscience that permits us to do what is convenient rather than what is right. It is pure delusion, of course, to believe that we can somehow hoodwink our own conscience, but that doesn't stop most of us from continuing to try. In 60 years of living, it is not often that I have found it hard to know what is the right thing to do. What is hard, believe me, is finding the courage to do the right thing, which is why C.S. Lewis called courage every other virtue at its testing point. Finally, take care to guard against the onset of moral numbness. It is an invariably fatal disease. What it kills is your humanity, and it does so by degrees. The risk comes twice: too much success or too much failure. If you aim high, and please do, the scope of your ambition stretches your expectations. When you succeed, the scent of that success can be intoxicating. It induces feelings of entitlement. It can create something close to contempt for the multitude of lesser mortals who, unlike you, have failed to win any of life's most glittering prizes. Success can raise you too high. Failure can bring you too low. Cumulative hurts create a peculiarly tough kind of scar tissue. Scars that shield that most vulnerable part of us, the part of us that cannot be seen, but which defines in fundamental ways how we see the world and how we judge how the world judges us. So success and failure, however different, present in part an identical danger. And both sap our capacity to feel what in our bones we know, that we are a part of the great march of humanity, and as members of that throng, we owe debts to all who share our common fate, and inescapable duties to do our part, small or large, to diminish the sum of human suffering and add something to the fund of human happiness. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest yew to hold, her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down today. Nothing gold can stay. Live for the gold, but when it goes as it must, be ready for the green. Keep the green alive by all the wit and all the will at your command. But when it fades, as it will, be ready for what remains, and make of what remains a proud statement of the power of your love for all humanity, for the beauty of knowledge, and for all those things eternal which need no name. You came here for different reasons, expecting different things. You found here a means to intellectual and moral growth more powerful than any you could have dreamed. That power has made you what you are. That power gives you the right to a strong faith in a fine future. Yours is a joyous and a precious inheritance. Use it always to purposes worthy of its integrity and to ends consistent with the inescapable obligation owed by the uniquely blessed to make this suffering world somehow, some way, more beautiful and more just. Goodbye and Godspeed. Will you please rise now for the singing of the Alma Mater?